Welcome to the Massillon Public Library's Poetry Read-In as part of the Big Read in conjunction with the Massillon Museum and this year's book choice, Circe. We would like to congratulate the winners of our poetry contest, Shannon Nussbaum for her poem At the Bluestone, Leon Walsh in the category for grades 9 to 12 with Scarred Fingers, and Ayla Barnes in the grades 3 through 8 category with Acting. We are going to get started with a poem from Leon. So if you would like to go ahead and recite, we would love to hear from you.
All right, thank you. This is my poem, Scarred Fingers. I can't remember the last time I let myself go. The standards for my body constantly rising. Maybe it was his words that started this. Were his words the reason my fingers are scarred and my teeth are rotting? Was he the reason I break down when I can't see my ribs or wrap my finger and pointer finger around my wrist? Or was it all my fault? It all started so innocently. In 7th grade, I started by skipping breakfast, then lunch. Then I'd come home complaining of a mysterious stomachache to avoid family dinner. I told myself after 5 pounds I would stop. I told myself after 10 pounds I would stop. I told myself after 15 pounds I would stop. I told myself after 20 pounds I would stop. When you have an addiction, stopping is easier said than done. And at this point, my favorite taste was that of fingers down my throat. I tell myself today will be different. I tell myself today's the day I will tear down the wall. I tell myself I'm no longer going to confine myself by the calories I eat or the amount of time I spend with tears filling my eyes and fingers filling my throat. But the ache in my stomach and the burn in my throat, my skin growing pale and cold, it's addicting. I crave it. I never knew what evil I was letting in. The evil that rears its ugly head every time I take a bite, every time I look in the mirror, every time that scale doesn't reach the unattainable zero, every time I try and slay the beast of my own mind. The beast, a 7th grade boy, created all by myself, hoping, maybe for once, he would love himself.
An awesome job, very moving. And I think I told you in an email, I saw that one and I thought that's going to be a winner. Not that I am any judge, but indeed I was very gratified when it came back as our grades 9 to 12 winner. So congratulations and thank you for sharing so much.
Thank you.
We're going to move along and see who else would like to participate by reading something. I think maybe Margie has something with her today.
I do. I would be happy to do that. You urged me earlier today to do that. And I had a meeting with Bill Dewald this morning, and when we were finished with our work, we shared stories about the Outer Banks. His were very recent memories. Mine were from a little longer ago. Our conversation reminded me of 2 of my favorite poems. It inspired me to write a few lines of my own, and it encouraged me to return to the sea. So first I'd like to read the familiar center stanza of a poem by John Masefield. I bet you've all heard it. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying and the flung spray and the blown spume, I knew I'd mess that up, and the seagulls crying. So that's just one of 3 stanzas from that. And then here are my own thoughts about yearning to go to the Outer Banks. I called it Nag's Head Harmony. The surf surges roiling again to the sand, rhythmic giving and taking, time without end. Branches sanded to silky soft drift, shell shards smoothed by water and grit. Wind lifts salt, spindrift, splashes and foam, subtle bands of color. This should be my home. And finally, my favorite words about a visit to the ocean. If you think about it, you can take home photographs and memories and a feeling of renewal when you've been to the beach. I always go when it's quiet and no one else is there, so all those feelings are my very own. They can be just as bright once you get home, once you leave the sound of the waves. But the shells and stones and shards that you pick up on the beach always lose their luster as soon as you get away from the sound of the surf. So this is how Ralph Waldo Emerson said that. I wiped away the weeds and foam. I fetched my seaborne treasures home. But the poor, unsightly, noisome things had left their beauty on the shore with the sun and the sand and the wild uproar. And now I want to go back to the beach. Thank you.
Very inspiring. I get to go to the beach next month, so. that's
Oh, good
exciting.
for you.
And I've
I hope I run into you there.
never been to the Outer Banks, so that's where I'm going.
Oh, good.
All right, who else might have a poem to share with us? I have one, if no one else has one at the moment, and I hesitated to do it because it's a Christmas poem, but this is always in April, and so I shall never get to do it if I wait for Christmas. It's called Little Tree by E. E. Cummings. Little tree, little silent Christmas tree, you are so little, you are more like a flower. Who found you in the green forest, and were you very sorry to come away? See, I will comfort you because you smell so sweetly. I will kiss your cool bark and hug you safe and tight, just as your mother would. Only don't be afraid. Look, the spangles that sleep all the year in a dark box, dreaming of being taken out and allowed to shine. The balls, the chains, red and gold, the fluffy threads. Put up your little arms and I'll give them all to you to hold. Every finger shall have its ring, and there won't be a single place dark or unhappy. Then when you're quite dressed, you'll stand in the window for everyone to see, and how they'll stare. Oh, but you'll be very proud. And my little sister and I will take hands, and looking up at our beautiful tree, we'll dance and sing Noel, Noel. And that poem was first published in 1920. I have another one by Anita E. Posey called If I Could Have a Pair of Wings. If I could have a pair of wings, do you suppose that I would choose a pair of robin's wings and skim across the sky? Or would I take the wings of gulls and glide across the seas? Or would I buzz around the flowers with wings of buzzy bees? I could, with wings of dragonflies, dart over lakes and creeks, or with a pair of eagle's wings, soar over mountain peaks. Perhaps with wings of butterflies, I'd flutter out of sight. But with mosquito wings, I guess I'd flit about and bite. And one more, because our summer reading program this year is going to have a fantasy and fairy tale mythological theme called Imagine Your Story. Here's one called Unicorn by William J. Smith. The unicorn with the long white horn is beautiful and wild. He gallops across the forest green so quickly that he's seldom seen, where peacocks their blue feathers preen and strawberries grow wild. He flees the hunter and the hounds. Upon black earth his white hoof pounds. Over cold mountain streams he bounds and comes to a meadow mild. There, when he kneels to take his nap, he lays his head in a lady's lap as gently as a child. All right, anybody else have something they're going to read? Go right ahead.
Baby Clark is
We're
a.
telling me you wrote it.
I wrote it. Baby.
Okay, go ahead.
Baby Clark is a little shark. I love you, Baby Clark. He's the cutest little shark.
Hey,
That is fabulous, PJ.
Very nice, Pete.
Thank you.
And that was a good rhyming one too. Some poems rhyme and some don't, isn't that right?
That's right.
You'll have to save that for when Clark is old enough to read it for himself.
And is Clark a person or a shark?
Baby.
A
her
baby.
cousin, her new cousin, she wrote that, her first poem and she wrote it for him.
That's really cool. Good job.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we are a very small but mighty group tonight. Anybody else have a poem before we turn it over to Dwayne for our closing? All right, take it away, Dwayne.
Okay, I have 3 sonnets that I'll share with you tonight. The first one is called The Other Side, and it's about the importance of being open to different viewpoints and seeing things from different perspectives, which is a metaphor that I think applies to all of us. This is called The Other Side. The little boy looked up. What met his view was colored thread all pasted on a mat. His infant eye, unschooled to such milieu, made nondescript what she'd been working at since Spindle gave to Singer. Then he stood and asked, "Hey, Grandma, what you making now?" She grinned, which got him laughing pretty good, and said, "Why, son, a bud upon a bough," and took him to her lap. He spied then a rose with single petal. "Grandma, dear, that didn't seem to be so pretty when I saw it from below. It is from here. A seed well sown, that beauty may abide, distinct yet hidden on the other side." The second one is called Desmodus rotundus, which is vampire bat. I used to post on a board called Sonnet Central on the web, and someone wrote about the importance of expanding one's horizon at one point, and I decided to do that. At that time, I had never written a poem that was related to kind of the scientific aspect or the biological aspect of nature. And I did a little bit of research, and I decided to write this poem about a vampire bat. 3 nights had brought no sustenance. He slept unsated now in rafters far from where his colony was roosting. Though he'd kept a vigil for the scent of sanguine air, no bovine-born libation could be found where he had flown. He flapped a white-tipped wing and waved his rest in favor of a sound that comforted, a roaring, rushing spring to follow back to roost. At dusk he fled to habitat and gaped his maw for food. A sated bat coughed up the blood she'd fed upon into his mouth, and thus renewed the starving mammal's life. And so it goes. Remarkable how far the bloodline flows. And my last one I just wrote today, and it is kind of a poetic commentary on where we are as a community, where we are as a nation, where we are as a world. And this is entitled, "What Have We Learned?" A world gone viral, politics at war with science and compassion. Who's to blame? What strange intent compelled us to ignore our better selves? And what sadistic aim has chased us to the brink? Where are the souls to guide us through the darkness? Where's the light that leads the emissary who extols the simple truth that mollifies our plight? I do not know the thing that brought us here, nor do I know the way to lead us out. I only know that faith will conquer fear. I only know that truth will vanquish doubt. And answering the query of this rhyme, what I have learned is this: we need more time. Thank you.
Well, a round of applause to Dwayne and a round of applause to everybody for participating and for our winners again. Thank you so much to all the entrants in our contest, and hopefully maybe next year we'll be back in person at the Massillon Public Library for our poetry reading. Anybody have any last wishes or words to tell everyone?
Just thank you for organizing it, Laura.
Yes, thank you, Laura. And also, some of you may remember the Underground Railroad presentation through Spring Hill. I just got an email yesterday saying that that will be back on again for this year. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe the date will be August 21st for 4 performances. They will all be on the porch. So there will be no problem in terms of social distancing and all of that, because the performers will be on the porch. And then, of course, there will be a socially distanced audience. I will be participating in that as well. So look forward to possibility of viewing that if you're so inclined.
Yeah, if you would like to hear Dwayne declaim some more, go up to Spring Hill Historic Home and visit our friends up there. Very worthwhile organization also. All right, well, thank you everyone. Leon, I guess you're the only one present that I need to ask, would you like to pick up your certificate or would you like me to mail it?
I will pick it up.
All right, I will have it at the children's desk at the library for you. And I don't know if anybody, well, if you saw Susan's message about the gift card, did you get your Amazon gift card in your email?
Mhm.
Received it? Okay, very good. That's always a thing that we're not used to yet. We've only done that for 2 years, done it electronically. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And don't forget to check out the other Big Read events that are still to come tomorrow and Thursday. And thank you to the Massillon Museum for sponsoring that.
Thank you
Bye,
all.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
You too.